Hi, and thank you for joining me for another process video. And today's sketch is a very special one for me because it's been created by my lovely friend Helen Ding, who lives locally, and I adore her. So thank you very much for this sketch, Helen. I have gone slightly different from your sketch, which seems to be the norm with this series. You chose an awful lot of photos, Helen. I think that last layout that I did from Janet Fritz just exhausted me with all those photos on there. I'm not used to doing that. So I've gone a different way, and I just wanted to show how a sketch can be used to suit you and what you want. So the photo is just a picture of my sister's dog, Maple, and Amelia's taken her on walks in the local park recently. She really enjoys doing that, just for her mental health and to get out and get some fresh air. So she borrowed Maple from Lynn's and taken her over to our local park, Victoria Park, and given her a good old walk. And this was just a picture that she snapped of her chewing on the grass and enjoying herself. So you can see here, instead of the photos that Helen has on her layout, I've cut papers to the same size, so these 1.5 by 2 inches, and I'm just going to position them on the white cardstock, distress all the edges, and then cut that out as a block, and that is in place of all those photos. And then for the larger photo that Helen has, I'm actually using the photo of Maple. So this is Vicki Boutin's Discover and Create collection. I just thought the colours went perfectly with this photo because it's got lots of blues and greens, and I've chosen the cool tone blues for this layout. And I did fussy cut that leaf because we're in autumn. I thought it would work really nicely, and it's a similar colour to Maple's coat, but I just couldn't make it work, you'll see shortly, so I do give up on that. So here I am just gluing each of these squares down, or rectangles down. I'm just distressing the edges with my Tim Holtz edge distresser and then gluing them down with a small gap in between. I used my T-square ruler once just to check that the first line was straight, and then I've just gone with it and done it by eye. So they might not be quite straight, but with the distressed edges you can get away with a multitude of sins. So here I am just cutting this out. So this is almost going to act like a fancy pattern paper, really. I'm just cutting it into a block, and then I shall add it to a background paper and then carry on. Now I did originally think I was going to use this beige paper, and looking at it now it would have worked really nicely, but I had a crisis of conscience really and decided that it wasn't the one. So I tried this orange one. I had pulled that out because it's got all the paint swatches on, and I thought that would be another great option for this sketch, and I may come back to that and use it at a future date. But as I flick through the rest of the papers, I find this lovely purple wood grain, and I think that's going to work really nicely. It's in keeping with the cool tones that I've got everywhere else, so I go with that, and I am really pleased with the finished look. It's unusual for me. If you watch me regularly, you'll know I don't often use a pattern paper background, so this series has been really interesting in that I've been using a lot more of my pattern papers for my 12 by 12 base, which is quite exciting really. Certainly makes you get through the papers a bit quicker anyway. So I'm just trying to work out what to use as a block that goes onto the left hand side of the all the photos that Helen has in the sketch, and I decide to use this lovely grey paper. So I'm just cutting it down to size, and then I'll add that to the left of this block. I'm making it the same size as the block, and then I can add my title onto that. There are also some layers of papers, one at the bottom and one going from the top to the bottom on the right hand side, so I will work on that shortly. So at first I think I'm going to use this one for the bottom, but I decided not to, and then I hadn't realised that I pulled the same paper as the paper I've used on the left hand side here, so I switched that out, and I'm using this piece, which is very similar. It's another grey, but it's got a different pattern on it, and I'm just cutting this in half so that I can use half at the bottom for the bigger piece and then half at the top, so it'll look like it's a continual piece going right the way down the page like Helen's got in her sketch. So here's the paper that I've switched that blue one out for. I love that grid. It's just a scrap that I had left over, and it was the perfect size. Just needed to trim the white bit off a little bit and just a tiny bit off the end, and it just fits really nicely under there. So once again I am going to distress all the edges of these pieces, just in keeping with the rest of the layout. So here we go, just grabbing that Tim Holtz edge distresser. If you haven't got one of these and you enjoy distressing your papers, I would highly recommend them. They're absolutely brilliant. So just going to glue that down to the left hand side of that paper that I created at the beginning. Just using my T-square to check that everything's straight, and of course it's not. I hadn't got the T-square straight on the page, so I'm just having to pull it up. I'm being a bit careful because these papers are really quite thin in the Vicki Boutin paper pads now, so you have to just be a little bit careful. And then I can bring that main piece in. So just distressing the edges of that bottom piece and getting that stuck down. So while I'm doing all this, please do go and check Helen's channel out. I'll leave a link to it in the description box below, and also have a look at the playlist of everybody else who's joining in on this month-long hop. There are lots of videos added to that playlist, and it's really interesting to watch how everybody interprets the same sketch differently. So there are some people like me who are just doing single pages, and quite a few of the ladies are doing double pages. So really fun to see what they're creating. So you will have seen there, I almost stuck my block of papers down upside down. One of the papers on there in the bottom right hand corner is directional, so it was quite important for me that that wasn't upside down. So I'm pleased that I caught that before I stuck it down on the page. So just getting this last piece stuck down to the background, and then I can start embellishing. Very nearly there now. So I can use the grid as my guide to stick that piece down. So I'm just going to stick that grid underneath and then get that piece down, and then I can add that piece at the top. And again, I'll use my T-square ruler just to line that up. So just butting that up against the left-hand edge, and then I can make sure this top piece goes in the same place. There we go. So that's the background finished. So now for a title and then all the other bits and pieces. First of all, I'm using some of my fun foam. I almost forgot I had this. It's sitting in the little desk tidy on my desk, and I just thought it would be perfect for this photo. I didn't want it to stand too proud of the layout, and this fun foam is nice and thin, so that worked really nicely. And it's going to overlap both the paper that I created and that piece on the left hand side there. So still fiddling about with that leaf. I'm still determined I'm going to get it on, but for now I want to work on the title, and I decided The Great Outdoors was the perfect title using these puffy stickers from Discover and Create. Now I do faff around with this a little bit to get it positioned, but I do get there in the end. I think it was because the is the smallest, and then Great is slightly bigger, and then Outdoors is a completely different entity. It's that script font. So you can see I'm messing about working out whether I want it all as one line or the above or not. But I do go back to having the above. And then I'm pulling out these My Little Shoebox stickers. These are really old, and I just want to put with Marple. My mum has nicknamed, well, she hasn't nicknamed, she thought that Maple's name was Marple, so she just keeps calling her Marple now, and it's sort of stuck with the rest of the family, so my family all call her Marple as well. And their other dog is called Boutin, and Mum calls her Buttons, so we've, instead of Maple and Button, we've got Marple and Buttons. Just a family joke, I suppose. It's quite funny. So still messing about with that leaf. I've pulled off this foam sticker to add to this cluster here at the bottom, but I do pull that back up very shortly. I wasn't happy with that either. So there it is coming back up. Putting that leaf down, and then I'm going to go through the 6x12 stickers. I find this feather, so I'm going to add that to the cluster down there. And then I go into some fussy cut black and white florals that I found, that I'd created. Sorry, I don't words today. I'd fussy cut these flowers while I was watching TV a couple of months ago, and I've just got them in a bag ready to use. And in the end, I actually only use a few of the leaves. I do try with some of the florals, but in the end, I just stick to that feather and some of the black and white leaves. So I spotted little ladybirds on these puffy stickers, so I decided to add one of those to the title there. And just retrieving that leaf, and I'm going to stick those down with that feather. I do add a little bit more to this cluster later on, but that's the basis of it. And then I see this little puffy arrow, and I just think that will work nicely there. So going through the stickers, and straight away I see a label which I'm going to add. I'm going to add it at the top. Think about adding it on the side, but it does go at the top. And then a butterfly, which I will add to the right of the bottom corner. I also see that feather sticker, and that's bringing that purple into the page, so I just add that to that cluster at the bottom. That's one of the things that I've added there. And then I see this sticker that says a story worth telling, and this is the basis of most of my albums. They're all about telling the story, recording the memories. So it's just a picture of my sister's dog, nothing too exciting, but I wanted to record the fact that Amelia's enjoying taking her out for walks and things. So that's the purpose of this layout in my album. So find another butterfly or moth to add down at the bottom here. I don't want to add too much to these rectangles, but I want to add a few little bits. So just moving that label over to the right so I can add this bulldog clip. Now it's from the papery pack, so it's very, very flimsy paper. So I'm just going to add some glue and add that to a piece of scrap card just to give it a bit of strength, so I can stick it down overlaying the photo, which is raised up onto foam, and then I can add some foam to the clip, the top bit of the clip. So you can see there, just adding a little bit of foam where it's not sitting on the photo. And there it sits, and that looks really nice up there. So once again, one more butterfly or moth. So I'm just going to fussy cut that out. Again, it's papery, so it's quite thin, but it works really nicely on that little rectangle there. And then I need to add the border that Helen's got on the left-hand side. So I've just used one of the Hey Little Magpie dies. It's a bumpy border die. And then I'm going to stick that down underneath that paper. It's just cut from black cardstock, just a scrap that I had in my stash. And then I find this little thistle head. So I'm just going to add that, or poppy head, to the cluster there, and that's the layout done. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Helen, for a fabulous sketch. I shall see you again soon. Bye.